thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to give our mostly Manuel F. Hernandez families a few more moments to log in, and then we're going to get started with our presentation. So make sure you've got something to write with, and eventually we'll be having you hop into your student's Schoology account to kind of assist in how they will register for their courses. So again, welcome. We're so glad to have you, and we will get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. I see Mrs. Bachman and Mr. Hernandez. Good evening, friends. I'm still trying to look at all the different pictures here. Mr. Pasquini, just because you're a bit more familiar with the Schoology information, I didn't know the planning guy was there, so maybe you can just kind of guide them through what they're looking for.
Okay. So if we're talking about the Schoology piece, you're going to want to open up your teacher's your regular Schoology that you would go to, and you're going to look for the folder that says Green Acres Registration. And once you've got that, you can pretty much kind of cool your heels if you've got that folder open, because that's the main one. If you've got that, you're ready to go.
And Mr. Pasquini, the planning guide is posted there. So
yes,
as we're talking about courses, families, you can kind of see a more full description of what each course is. And I know it's kind of interesting doing this on Zoom, but we will have an opportunity for questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is super exciting. First time ever registration night on Zoom. Manuel Hernandez is always the first school that we go to every single year. And we're normally in your multipurpose room, like talking to you guys, having conversations, seeing families from the past who are past Chargers. I see some past Charger families on here right now. So just super excited to be with you guys tonight. My name is Mrs. Hawkins, and I have the privilege of serving as Green Acres Middle School's principal. When your children are in 7th grade, it'll be my 3rd year as principal and my 6th year at Green Acres overall. I absolutely love this school. There is so much rich tradition, not just in all of our accolades from our musical theater program to our athletics program, and I could go on. But on top of that, because we've been such a top school for such a long time, we have one of the best teaching staffs in Visalia Unified, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Of course, your 6th grade teachers are awesome too, but let me tell you, Green Acres has some fabulous teachers with great experience, and you will be blessed to be a part of the school community. I've worked at over 8 schools in Visalia Unified. They're all great, and I'm not saying this because I'm the principal. I talk to Mr. Pasquini about it all the time. We truly have the best teachers at this school. They are here for kids. They have a heart for kids. They will do anything for students. And it's pretty amazing. It's a great time to have teachers like that as your students are transitioning into a really, challenging time in their school careers, being 12, 13, and 14. So I'm super excited that you get to be a part of our school. All right. And David, can you advance the slides since I can't? Perfect. So one thing that's a long-standing tradition in Visalia Unified, and if you've been in the district for a long time or been a parent for a long time, this has been a visual that we have really used to describe what our goal is for all Visalia Unified students. We really feel for them to have this successful track, whether it's that track to a good transition to high school or to prepare them for their college and their career, that having a balanced system that really addresses not only their academic needs, because of course, our goal is when your students come to our school, they will leave prepared to handle the rigor of high school and college classes when they leave our school. And that's super important. And we focus on that a lot at Green Acres. However, you can't take out how important feeling significant at your school or feeling a sense of belonging is. And those things really have to work hand in hand, those two rails together, to get our Chargers where we need them to go, which is prepared for high school when they go to whatever high school they attend. For most of you, it will be Redwood if you live in Manuel F. Hernandez area. And also being ready for whatever career or four-year college or two-year program they want to pursue. We have a lot of activities at Green Acres that help prepare them for this significance and belonging, but also it's about the staff that we have. Each of our staff members know that making their students feel like they are a part of something is really important, because we know, especially in this pandemic, and thank goodness you guys got to go back to school yesterday. So exciting. And we're hoping to come back really soon too here at Green Acres this year. But you know, during the pandemic, more than ever, feeling like you belong to something, that you're a part of something, is super important for a student to be engaged in their academic career. And so you can't just put all the focus on academics. We really have a great balance here at Green Acres, and it doesn't matter what your student's into, whether it's they want to be a great athlete, or they want to be in the dramatic arts and sing and dance, or, you know, they're just a little more quiet and they want to be in our creativity club and make really awesome projects, or be an academic outstanding person who's on our history teams or a science Olympiad. So we have a little bit of everything to really get our kids connected here at Green Acres. And we're really proud of our programs. And I will tell you, when I talk to the assistant principals and the principal at Redwood, and I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just being honest, when they talk about the students who come to Redwood, because they have kids that come from multiple middle schools, they always say, wow, what are you guys doing at Green Acres where your students aren't just academically prepared, they're emotionally prepared, they're socially prepared, and they notice that. They're like, when kids come in the office, they're not kids that went to Green Acres. What's that all about? And it's hard for me to say because I can't pin my finger on it. It's been something that's been at the school long before I was here. Probably since Mr. Pasquini was a student here back in the 1980s. It's always been a tradition that this school is excellent. And we are very, very proud of that. So
I was only here for like 6 months in the 80s. Don't make me older than I am. You know, come on now.
Fair enough, Mr. Pasquini. So, you know, one thing about middle school is that we do operate a little bit differently than an elementary site, because your students have so many different teachers. So they won't necessarily be just with like Miss Bachman or Mr. Hernandez or Mr. Benavides. They're going to be with 6 or 7 different teachers. So we really try to ground them with individuals who are there to support their needs. Because sometimes when you have 7 people who are your teachers, you're like, who do I go to when I have a problem or I need some support? And so that's kind of how we structure what we call our admin team at Green Acres and at all of our other middle schools. So like I said, I'm Mrs. Hawkins and I'm the principal, but I want you guys to know a few of our other players that are here to support your students. So the first person that I would like to introduce, who's actually not on this chart, is she is our school counselor, and that is Miss Tina Bajorla. And I don't know if you can spotlight her, David. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Miss Bajorla. Miss Bajorla is really going to be supporting your students in 2 different ways. Number one, she's going to be there to support your students with academic concerns if they're struggling in a class or they need additional supports. And on top of that, if your students are struggling with social emotional concerns or things of that nature, Ms. Bajorla will also be there to kind of get them the services and supports that they need. And so we're very blessed to have Ms. Bajorla. She's new to our team, and let me just tell you, she's been such a great asset. And I know that your students will enjoy working with her next year. So thank you, Tina. The second person I would like to introduce is our fabulous learning director, and that is Miss Anna Ramirez. Thank you. There's Anna. And Anna, I should say, Miss Ramirez and Miss Bajorla really work hand in hand at supporting those things I talked about with Miss Bajorla. Really taking a look at the student and what their academic needs are. And are there any issues that are preventing them from being successful? Are there gaps in their learning? Do they need a different academic support class? Do they need help after school? Do they need to be referred to some other agencies with the support of the family? So really, in conjunction with Ms. Bajorla and Ms. Ramirez, they're there to handle any kind of support that any of our students in 7th and 8th grade might need. So thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Another person I would like to introduce to you, as you will definitely, 6th graders, he will be a part of your everyday, even though he's not your assistant principal. That's Mr. Pasquini. And there you are. He currently is our 7th grade assistant principal. And what's really cool, what we do at middle school is you're only here for 2 years. So we got to make sure that we get you not only great supports, but that we keep it consistent for the short time that you're with us. And so Mr. Pasquini is currently with our 7th graders, and he will move up with them into 8th grade next year. And he does if you think of anything for an 8th grader, schedule changes, sometimes the not fun conversations when a kiddo makes a not so good choice, all those things with his grade level, Mr. Pasquini will be there for the 8th graders. But don't worry, Mr. Pasquini does the announcements every morning. You may not know his special saying yet. I'm going to leave that for next year. And if you live close to our school at all behind us, maybe in, what's that neighborhood called behind the apartments? I can't think of it, but you guys are from there, some of you. You will hear Mr. Pasquini in the morning making announcements. So thank you, Mr. Pasquini, for all your support. Mr. Pasquini has been at Green Acres, help me, David, for how long now?
9.
9 years, and that's only as an assistant principal. 11 if you count him being a Charger student back in the mostly 90s.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, the most important person that you need to know from this presentation tonight, and that is Mrs. Heather Jorgensen. Heather, we are so blessed to have her. She is an amazing advocate for students, and you could not be more lucky that she is going to be the assistant principal for your children for the next 2 years. She currently is with our 8th graders, and as she transitions them off to high school, she is now, as we speak, working with your 6th grade teachers, and will be working with you guys over the summer to work on your children's schedules, the supports that they might need for their IEP or 504. And really, Mrs. Jorgensen is going to be your go-to person for anything that you might need over the next 2 years. So thank you so much, Mrs. Jorgensen. Super excited that you are going to be here to serve these kids.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hopkins. I'm excited.
Woohoo! All right, so that's a little bit of how we structure our work on the admin level with our students. So again, your children are going to have about 8 people that they're daily in contact with that are supporting them throughout their day. So it will look very different than elementary school. And I think with that, I am handing it off to who I just introduced, your fabulous assistant principal for your next 2 years, and that's Mrs. Jorgensen. Take it away, Heather.
Thank you so much. So I'm so excited to get to be with you all tonight and kind of give you a brief look into what a 7th grade day looks like. It is very different than your 6th grade year where you have your main teacher and then you have a music teacher and a PE teacher. This time when you come visit us, come the fall, you're going to have 6 teachers. So let's talk about what that day is kind of going to look like. There are 7 periods in a school day, every single day, and each period is 50 minutes long. The classes that you will have are going to be your English language arts, and that is a 2-period block together. So you'll have that either 1st and 2nd or 3rd and 4th, so you'll have those classes together. Then you have your Math 7 class, your World History class, your Life Science class, your Physical Education class, and your Elective class, which I know a lot of you are excited to pick. So that is a typical 7-period school day. We'll talk a little bit more about other options, such as honors programs, maybe support classes, or even our pre-first classes. But this is what a typical 7th grade day looks like for you.
And Mrs. Jorgensen, I just wanted to mention as you're going over the day in the life here, parents realize that this is what we would do pre-COVID, right? So our goal is that hopefully, not only are we coming back this year for 7th and 8th grade, but that hopefully next fall we be in this normal situation. But just realize if we are still in a place with COVID where we have to be in some kind of hybrid situation with a different bell schedule, of course that will be communicated to you guys well in advance. But our very hopeful goal is that by August, we will have this pandemic under control enough that we can do this kind of a schedule.
Absolutely. As you guys know, because you're living it right now, you just started back yesterday, you're working on an AB schedule, AM and PM. And so in a typical school year, you would have all 7 of your classes in one day, every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Now, our classes currently are doing something a little different due to COVID, like Mrs. Hawkins said, but again, we're so hopeful. If we are able to return into a normal schedule come the fall, this is what we will be looking at as far as your daily bell schedule. With class starting at 8:20, that is our tardy bell. We do open up our campus at 7:45 a.m. And then you'll see that you have a 50-minute class period with 3 minutes in between to get to your next class. I guarantee you that is plenty of time to get across campus, because if I can do it, you can do it. And if Mrs. Ramirez can do it in the heels that she wears, you can do it as well. So you'll have 3 minutes in between each class. You'll see that after our second period class, we do have a nice 10-minute break. This is enough time to go to the bathroom, eat your snack. We even have a snack bar that is open on campus during our normal school year where you can buy a snack and have a snack during that time. And then we have our third and fourth period together. And then you'll see something a little different at our fifth period time. You'll notice that during fifth period, you see it twice. You see fifth period and then lunch. And then you also see lunch and then fifth period. So believe 7th graders are going to have first lunch come fall. So you would actually go to lunch after 4th period, and then you would go to your 5th, 6th, and 7th. We do that in order to accommodate students within the cafeteria. It helps eliminate the amount of time you're waiting in line and give you more opportunities to eat your food and visit with your friends. So we do break up our lunches into 2 sections. So you'll see that our day ends at 3:15 p.m. That's okay, Mr. Pasquini. I got it. Thank you. So speaking of our programs that I had briefly mentioned, we do have a couple of different options for students that maybe need a different track than our general ed classes. So the first thing is our honors classes. These are also accelerated to an extent. And then we also offer some support classes. So your academic levels coming in from 6th grade classes help us indicate which classes you should be placed in. These are conversations that the team and I are having with your teachers currently. We're getting information about how you're doing in your classes, what your grades are like, how you're doing as far as completing your work, and your teachers are helping us make those recommendations for your placements. So we offer 2 options for acceleration in 7th grade. We have an honors English class, which is taught by a wonderful teacher, and Mrs. Hawkins is right. No matter who you end up having, we have amazing people here at this campus. So you're going to be just so excited, I'm sure, to be with them. So English 7, there's the honors option for that. And then we also have accelerated math. This is a very fast-paced class because you cover 7th grade standards and 8th grade standards, because the idea is that when you're done with Math 7 honors, that you would move into Math 8 honors, which we actually call Integrated Math 1, which is a freshman level class. So you do have to go very quickly during the 7th grade year in order to cover all your standards to be prepared for that 9th grade level class. We also offer some support classes if you maybe are struggling a little bit in your academics. We offer a language lab which supports your ELA class with things such as reading comprehension and your writing skills. We also offer study table for our special education students, and this is kind of a class where you get a little bit of help in everything. This class is really intended to support students who are on IEPs that need that additional support with maybe completion of work or working towards goals. We do offer a math lab class which supports your math skills. And then we offer ELD enrichment for our English language learners. Students on IEPs and 504s, we are working on transition meetings currently and getting those scheduled. We do meet with all of your teachers in order to make sure that we have a smooth transition and that we are prepared for any of your accommodations, and we have a plan for you.
Thanks, Heather. I just wanted to add one quick thing there about accelerated courses and also for support classes. A question you might be wondering, parents, is, well, how do you decide what my child needs? How do I know if accelerated math is going to be something they're ready for, or on honors English? Or my kiddo's struggling, but are they struggling enough where they need a support class? So we look at lots of indicators And one indicator that we do look at is state assessments, which, by the way, your students have not taken since the 4th grade. So we're looking at lots of other data, and one data piece that we really rely on is communicating with your 6th grade teacher and with the school site. So if I'll be honest with you, we don't know your kiddo quite yet, and Manual F does, and you do. So the best thing is that if you're not sure, or if you are really you're like, hey, my kid's middle of the road with English, they're struggling a little bit, but I really want them in honors, talking to your 6th grade teacher is the best place to start. We're really blessed at Manuel Hernandez, where many of our 6th grade teachers have been in this role working with Green Acres closely for years and years. And so they really know what the expectations of our honors English and accelerated math are. And they also know if your student really needs the support class. So if in doubt, please reach out to that 6th grade teacher. They are a wonderful support and helping come up with a great decision for your student. So just wanted to kind of mention that as well.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. We have those conversations, and since you have also started back in person just this week, we've also asked teachers to also update us with any information. If, say, your kiddo maybe was struggling with distance learning, but is starting to really thrive in the classroom, we always want the most up-to-date information possible. So we're going to stay in close communication for the remainder of the year. We have a fantastic visual and performing arts program at our school. Visalia knows how to do visual performing arts, and I have to say, out of all of the middle schools, Green Acres really rocks it. We have phenomenal programs that I'm so excited to introduce to you. And again, a lot of this is based on performances and things like that, which in a typical school year, they blow me away with what they put forth to all of us. It's incredible. So a few things that we do have is, so placement is based off of your teacher recommendations and the number of years that you've been playing at elementary school, whether that be an instrument or singing. And so we do offer intermediate band, marching band, advanced band. And then we also have a jazz band, which is a pre-first class, which means you would actually come to school earlier than that first period time that we talked about. The class times actually start at 7:15, and so that's something that you would have to register for. Mr. Pasquini is going to show you how to do that if you're interested. We also offer orchestra and advanced orchestra, and then we have a concert choir. These are all programs that you would have to be either recommended for or auditioned for because these are a little more advanced. However, we also offer programs with no experience needed. So if you have no previous experience and you're really excited and want to try out for a visual and performing art, we offer bass clef choir, which is our boys choir, our soprano alto choir, which is for our girls. We also offer beginning computers and art, beginning art, and those are a program where you get to take both in the school year, one per semester, and they will flip-flop for you. So if you started in computers, second semester you would take art. If you started in art, second semester you would take computers. So it's a great opportunity to try 2 electives out within one school year. We also offer a beginning drama class and also musical theater. And I have to tell you, our performances in a typical school year are high school level performances. They're incredible. And so I'm actually going to pass this off to Mrs. Ramirez, who's going to tell you more about that.
If I can jump in for a quick second, I would just say that not only guys, you might not think about singing, but I will tell you this. Every time we go to a concert, a choir concert, the group that gets the biggest amount of applause every year is the boys' choir, because everyone goes, whoa, I didn't know they could sing like that. And so all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, they've got talent. They've got skills. And to be quite honest, our orchestra and our bands match that. You may be familiar with the CMEA festivals, the music festivals. Our orchestra and our bands have been 15 years in a row of superior ratings. So they've received the highest ratings for 15 straight years. And the only thing that stopped them was a pandemic. That's really the only thing that could stop us from continuing our tradition of excellence.
Well, good evening, future Chargers and Charger families. I'm excited to be the one to cover these next few slides because, as you've heard, we have an amazing program. Well, all of our programs are amazing, but if you're really interested in musical theater, you have that opportunity to participate in that. This would be a pre-first class, and you do have to attend in order to be part of the musical. I believe the parent meetings will be held in August, and then there's tryouts.
And I do want to do a little shout out to one of our families on here and remind you that being involved in musical theater does not mean that you have to be a lead or sing or dance. You can even be in the stage crew behind the scenes. And that's a huge role. And we actually have a dad on here that I'm looking at right now, Mr. Boyle, who is a big part, there he is, who was a big part of helping us with our show last year when his daughter was our flounder, Miss Ella. And so there's, as he could tell you, there's so many needs for our musical theater that go beyond just acting and singing and dancing. So any talent that you might have, or even if you feel like, well, I don't have a talent, but I'm willing to be in black clothes and move the sets, like we always need your help. And I will tell you, it's been a little bit disappointing with the pandemic this year for, Susical. We're probably not going to have an in-person performance for the first time in 40 years of excellence in Green Acres Little Theater. But we're making the best of it, and we're still going to put on a great virtual show. And I am so super hopeful that next February, a year from now, we'll be doing another fabulous show. And I'm sure Mr. Boyle will be helping build sets again. And we really hope that you'll be a part of our musical theater program. We do, and again, I want to remind you, unlike any other middle school, we do not do what they call junior musicals. We do the full-blown Broadway musical, just like a high school or a college would do. And as far as I know, we are one of the only middle school 7th and 8th grade that does this across the state of California. And that's really what makes our musical theater program very special and very different. And there's a long-standing tradition of excellence.
Thank you. And our electives, we have some great electives for you to choose from. You must submit an application for the following 4 electives. AVID, which primarily focuses on writing, your organizational skills, and utilizing Cornell note-taking, which is very, very helpful, at least for me personally. I love Cornell notes. And it's geared towards students who want to work towards college and work in collaborative teams. During a regular school year without this pandemic, I know there's college trips where they're able to visit colleges and universities, and you get that experience so that you know exactly where you want to go, what you want to do, and what the college feel is like. And then we also have yearbook, which is a great opportunity to get involved. This is where you help design and produce the school yearbook. Really fun. Then leadership, which all of these electives are amazing, but leadership is one of the most, I know before I even joined the Green Acres team, I fell in love with the leadership kids. I mean, they're just phenomenal. I mean, if you have a chance, check out what's on the website. I believe it's still there. Amazing, amazing team there. And then we have exploring technology, which once again, robotics, the teacher is excellent. So you have a lot to choose from. However, these do require an application, and Mr. Pasquini will cover a little more of that process with you. And then we do have the Pulse after school program. Right now, it looks, obviously it's very different. However, once we return, hopefully in person and everything is somewhat normal, it's open to all students. And even right now, it's open to all students. However, when you're in person, you can participate in the many activities that are provided in the Pulse program. They do offer homework assistance, educational activities. They have dance and leadership, sports, and it's free to participate in Pulse. The hours are from 3:15 to 6 p.m. and you must attend a minimum of 3 days a week to stay in Pulse. However, like I said, right now and for this year, things are a little different, and I know there's more flexibility. So just stay tuned for the upcoming changes.
And if you're familiar with Heart, I don't remember if Heart happens at Manuel Hernandez. you don't have to. The kids don't have to stay all the way until 6 o'clock p.m. That's just their time frame. Most kids get picked up around 5 o'clock. When everyone gets off work. But some kids have, parents can't get there quite there at 5, so they can pick them up at 6. That's fine too. It's not a hard and fast rule that you got to be there at 3:15 to 6.
And can you remind me, Mr. Pasquini or Mrs. Ramirez, because I don't remember, how do they go about applying for Pulse? Because they can even do that right now for next year, right?
Right. What we have on our school website is we have a Google form that will take you about 45 seconds to a minute to fill out. It's really just basic information of, who you are, how they can contact you, and your general interest in Pulse. It's a quick form that's located right there at vusd.org/greenacres, right there on the main page.
I do recommend you filling it out as soon as you know that you are interested. Just because our Pulse program, we can't take every single student that attends Green Acres. It is limited to a certain number of students. And so the earlier you fill out your information, the more likely you have an opportunity to get there.
Yes. And sports. Green Acres has a great program. We have some excellent coaches. In the fall, we have volleyball, football, and cross country, which is not a tryout sport. The other two, I believe, are. In the winter, we have basketball and soccer, and then wrestling. Spring, baseball, softball, and track. And it's really sad because, unfortunately, due to COVID, I know this is extremely difficult for all of us, and especially the students. However, hopefully we can ease back into that here soon. We just started our cohort, Mr. Pasquini, the sports cohort. Is that what we're calling it?
Yep, our athletic training cohort.
There we go.
Has about 60 students in it right now.
Yes, so I know they're enjoying that. Student athletes must maintain a 2.3 GPA in all classes in order to participate in sports, and no more than 2 unsatisfactory citizenship marks. So, I mean, as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing in classes, trying your best, and you'll be able to participate in the sports that we have.
Go ahead, Tina.
Oh, no, I was going to start, but if you want to take this one. Okay, awesome. So hello, everyone. My name is Ms. Porla. I'm the school counselor. Super excited to be here. As Mrs. Hawkins mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, she mentioned how important it is for students to feel a sense of belonging here at school. And one way that we do that is by offering a lot of clubs and enrichment programs here at school. And so these are some of the opportunities that we have for students. Some of those include academic competition teams, Math Super Bowl, Science Olympiad, History Day. So if your student is really excited about any of these subjects, this will be an opportunity for them to explore more into that subject, see how they can take that subject beyond what they learn in the classroom and apply it in multiple ways, and compete with their fellow Chargers. We also have some clubs on campus. This just lists a few of the clubs that we have on campus. For example, CJSF, which is a scholarship based off of your academics, your grades. There's the Art Club, Builders Club, which focuses on the community and service projects, Christians on Campus, and there's many other clubs here. We are super lucky that we have such involved teachers where they have even brought this to the distance learning model. So students have been able to meet one another, enjoy their different clubs. The creativity club is a hit with one of our science teachers. They get to do lots of fun projects, and I wish I could join it as well. And so students will have an opportunity sometime in the fall to be able to explore these different clubs and opportunities and find out how they can be a part of them.
And I just want to jump in. I did join Creativity Club, and it is amazing. We're having a blast. I think Mrs. Hawkins is in Creativity Club as well, and we're enjoying that time with kiddos. A couple of other really, really popular ones this year, and I have to thank TikTok for this. All those kids, I know your ears just perked up when I said TikTok. We do have a dance club this year, which is fairly new to us, and it is based off of a lot of the TikTok dances that you are all loving and doing at home anyway. And so when you get this opportunity in the fall, You're not limited to one club. You can join multiple clubs. We encourage you to get involved in any way that you feel comfortable. The more connected you are into school, the more your academics are going to thrive.
And speaking of academics, you'll notice in this picture, this is our math Super Bowl team from last year.
And David, this was 4 days before we shut down school for the pandemic.
So we got it in just in time. But you'll notice all those blue ribbons right there. That's because our gentleman over here on the right, Mr. Adam Hacker, a former Husky himself. So shout out to, was it Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Bachman?
No, Bachman.
He had the highest score out of all the middle schoolers who competed.
It's almost 1,200 students across the county.
He beat the pants off of everybody. Oh, and by the way, who came in third? Oh, that was one of ours also. You know, we have some amazing kids. And, you know, Mrs. Hawkins and I, especially Mrs. Hawkins, is a little hyper competitive. So it's not just sports that we compete in and we want to see our kids excel and have success, but also in our academic competitions as well. When you go into your seventh grade, when you go into your science classrooms, you will see an entire back wall full of trophies from Science Olympiad. We regularly have our students in History Day go on to the state competition. Last year we had 2 students qualify for the national competition, but unfortunately, again, COVID, you know, so that kind of put a little damper on things. But again, we love having our kids work hard, get involved, and do the right thing. And this is part of that working hard and getting involved.
Great. So we do have a dress code policy that we follow just along with the entire Visalia Unified School District. So I'm sure you're familiar with kind of what it looks like at the elementary school. Specific information about what that looks like here at Green Acres will be coming home in the summer mailer packet. And at this point, I'll invite admin team members, if there's any particular information, to please share that.
Well, here's a fun one. This is always the fun one to say to kids, you know, unlike an elementary school, where you have to have shoes with backs. Am I right on that, Mr. Pasquini? I'm not so familiar with elementary, but you guys can wear sandals when you get to Green Acres. Like, I never knew this is such a big thing, but everyone loves wearing their chanclas and walking around campus. So that's a fun one. And, you know, Miss Jorgensen can talk, you know, from the female's perspective, if you're wondering like, well, what do I know is appropriate for my student, especially if, you know, I'm a girl, because sometimes, you know, the length of things can be an issue. My first thing would say is just, you know, dress respectfully. It's hard to put it needs to be this many inches or not show this. But probably the number one issue we deal with is not shorts like we used to, although sometimes we do. It's midriffs. So, just kind of be mindful of that, my lovely lady students and parents of lovely ladies. We are still pretty strict on midriffs. And so just kind of be aware of that. Will be my one piece of advice for our lovely ladies coming in. David, any advice for our gentlemen?
Yeah, buy a good belt. The thing that we don't have so much of inappropriate t-shirts or inappropriate logos being worn. I mean, that does happen occasionally, but a lot of the guys like to wear their shorts on the low side, and what I would really suggest is invest in a good belt. It doesn't have to be, $100 leather belt or anything like that, but just something that's going to really be able to keep your pants up at your waist. We do have, and I'm not going to lie, we have what we call the Gucci belt, which is a pair of zip ties that we loop through your belt loops so that we can cinch up your pants if you're not going to do it yourself. So, if you want to keep your pants wrinkle free, buy a belt. Just one of those nice little webbing ones. You can get it at the military surplus store or something like that. That would be my recommendation for you.
And one thing I want to mention about dress code is, coming to middle school is a learning process. So using that example of the midriff, if one day, your daughter, without your knowledge, which is usually what happens, comes with something that shows, her midriff a little bit, we're not there to criticize them or make them feel less than. It's really, the first couple of times, it's really just like an informative conversation. and just really working towards success. We're not there to like get kids or anything like that. So if we have any issues with your child's dress, because and it's, again, it's not really for us. We want all of the other students to see your children in the most respectful light. And that's really why we care about the dress code. But our job is not to be rude or disrespectful about what your child might be wearing. We do it in a very sensitive way and a very, educational way. So just to kind of think of that too. That's kind of our perspective on dress code.
All right. I keep cutting you off, Tina. Go ahead.
That's okay. Hey, if you are ready, please take the reins. You are the expert here.
Okay, I won't lie. I am kind of the expert on this one. Because I helped create it. So at Manuel Hernandez, I know that you guys have Pause. And for our friends who are maybe coming in from other schools, we have Spurs at Shannon Ranch. We have Brave at Willow Glen. But really, what we talk about when we talk about having Chargers who have heart, we talk about students that we want to be honest, effective, ambitious, respectful, and thoughtful. And really, I mean, parents, you know this. You much prefer working with people at your in life that are honest and trying their best and respectful and thinking of others. It just makes our workday so much better. So it's so easy for me to work with Mrs. Jorgensen, Mrs. Bajorla, Mrs. Hawkins, and Ms. Ramirez because they all exhibit heart on a daily basis. It's really just kind of our foundation of just we want our kids to be good human beings. We could focus on being on time as one of them, but if you're being effective, you're showing up on time. If you are working hard to get to class, you're being ambitious. It really kind of encompasses everything all at once. And so we really aim for our Chargers to have heart, and we even have a logo to go with it. So to kind of get toward kind of wrapping things up, we have a few dates that are pretty important. March 12th is the first one. That one is where you Huskies, present Huskies and parents, please review the registration card that is available in your teacher's Schoology. It's also available on our website if you aren't able to access it. Please review it and fill it out. And we'll go through that here in the next few minutes and return it to your teacher ASAP. This really helps us to kind of get to know what electives we need to kind of plan for based on the interest level that we have for our students. We have tentatively planned April 23rd as a virtual sixth grade visit. Typically in years past, we would actually put you guys on buses and bring you over to our multi-purpose center, and we would perform for you and let you take a tour of the campus. But right now, obviously, that's on hold. So how we will do that, we're still kind of working out the details, but we hope to have something that gives you a sense of what Green Acres is about, even if you can't walk the campus. In July, you'll get your summer mailer, which has a lot of the information about school, information about the dress code, things like that, that just kind of give you a sense of, okay, now we're starting school, we're getting everything going. August 6th is a Friday, and that is the last Friday before we start school. Ideally, we're able to have our web orientation where everyone belongs, and you'll receive your student schedule, kiddos. And then that following Thursday, first day of school, and we are back at it. How it will look right now, we don't have all of the details for what school will look like coming in the fall, but our hope is that we're able to have all of our students on campus, that we're able to kick things off in the usual Green Acres traditions. But we'll stay tuned on that, and I know that your teachers will inform you of what we can when we can. So what's next is kind of a recap of what we were just talking about, that turn in your forms via Cami to your sixth grade teachers. anything that you are, if you have a paper version of your elective form, turn that into the office. We'll still get that from them by March 12th. Also, any additional applications for things like yearbook and leadership, exploring tech, and Avid, those will also need to be returned by March the 12th. And if you are joining us and you're not in one of our feeder schools, maybe you're coming from George McCann or St. Paul's or another school, you can still get all of our forms right there on the Green Acres website, and then you can just email them to me and I will distribute them where they need to go. So with that said, let's get to the business. Let's get to the business side of things. If you have I saw some families were using their own computers, and that's great. But kids, if you have your Chromebook out, now would be a great time to open it and go to your school's, your class's Schoology page and find that thing that says copy of 7th grade application. And I'm going to pull it up here so that you can see what we are talking about. So here it is. Let me blow this up a little bit. We can see it a little bit more. All right. So this is your application for your elective. And you can fill this out with Cami, just like you would for any other assignment for Mr. Benavides, Mr. Hernandez, or Mrs. Bachman. And you guys, I'm sure, are all very adept, very strong in using Cami as a device. So very first thing, most important thing, is we need to know your shirt size. I mean, that's a got to have. We want to be able to dress you for success and make you feel welcome to Green Acres, so we're able to get you a shirt. Think along the lines of what would your kiddo's size be, or what would your size be when you are, a year, maybe 2 years from now. So, my 6th grader right now is a small, but by the time she finishes 8th grade, maybe she's a medium. So we'll see. But you circle that part first. Let us know what size t-shirt we should get you. And then the information right up here at the top is, kind of some of that key piece, your name and your ID number. Your ID number, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I didn't mean to add that is your lunch number. Okay. That's your 6-digit, probably starting with a 9-1 or 9-4 or something like that. That 6-digit number you've been using for lunches, that is your ID number. Okay. And then families, let us know if your kiddo is in special education, just by circling yes or no, and then we can get all of this information right here. So we can take a couple of minutes to work on that, but I would really like to show you this second part, because this is where the action is, right here. These are your elective choices, and every year we have students who are so excited to choose something that they just start putting check marks on all the different. I want to take Avid, I want to take yearbook, but just a check mark doesn't really tell me, what students want to do. So please put a 1, a 2, or a 3 on, what is your first choice elective. That really gives us an indication. So if for example, you sign up for yearbook and you get accepted into yearbook and to leadership, if I know that yearbook is your number 1, then I can create space for that number 1 option. If you've got if you have musical talent and you want to continue on that, let us know what instrument you play and if you played for both years, or maybe you've played for even longer. The key thing about these last 4, of course, right here in Avid, yearbook, leadership, and exploring technology, is that you complete your application, and that is again due by March 12th. So you've got a couple of weeks, you've got some time to give some thoughtful answers and fill that part out.
And Mr. Pasquini, just important to mention, families, that your number 1, 2, and 3 selections should not all be from application courses. We need to have a backup just in case we don't have space or something of that nature. So at least one of your choices needs to come from, you know, basically advanced orchestra and above. So that if you are not placed in one of the application courses, we've got something that we know you'll love.
For the most part, and I can't speak for the application ones, but I would say between 80 and 90% of the time, we're able to get your first choice elective. I would say with probably 95% to 98% your first or second choice. We rarely ever have to go to a third choice. So if you've got if your first choice is band or orchestra, it's almost a guarantee. It's almost 100% lock. If there's something else you might have an interest in, sometimes we have conflicting classes, but most of the time we're able to get you an elective that you want at a time that you can take the other classes you need to take as well. The third area, and this one is helpful for us as well, it gives us an indication of what your interest is in 0 period, in pre-first. We have 3 options for you. Jazz band, musical theater, as we talked about earlier, that's our Broadway show. And then we also have physical education that we can take here in the morning. For students who perhaps need that intervention course like a math lab, but want to continue taking band, as an example, or any other of the electives, I would really suggest that you put a yes or a check mark or something in pre-first, in PE. Because what that does is if you take your pre-first PE at 7:15 in the morning, now there is space for you not only to have your elective, but also for you to have your intervention support class. So you might be struggling a little bit with math, you need some more support to boost up. Great, but you want to take art and computers, well, you get to do that too because you've got pre-first PE. And then lastly, parents, getting your signature right here, just so that way we're all on the same page. I would hate for you to buy a trombone for band, thinking your kid's going to continue on with band, and then they sign up for drama, and they're like, wait a minute, I just spent all this money on a trombone, what happened? But if we're all on the same page, that just helps us out tremendously. I don't want parents to be disappointed in the elective. I don't want the kids to be disappointed either. So work together on this, and then as we talked about earlier, submit it to your 6th grade teacher, or you can drop it in an email to me. But really the easy place right now is you've got it assigned there by your 6th grade teacher, you submit it, and you're all set, you're done.
And we'd really love for you guys to do it in Kami because it makes sure that we don't lose papers and all that. But if you were having issues or if your teacher's having issues, of course you can submit a paper copy. But if kids, you feel confident in Kami, please do it that way. Mr. Pasquini, one more thing I wanted to mention before I head off to Royal Oaks, our next presentation, pre-first. Parents, you might be wondering, saying, well, I don't think my kiddo's taking an intervention class, but I really want them to take a pre-first because A, that helps me with getting to work, and B, I'd love for my kid to take 2 electives instead of 1. So if that's you and you're like, yep, that was my question, let me answer how that works. So if you look at the sentence that's there, it says availability of classes limited, and we first give it to students who need an intervention class. So in 7th grade pre-first PE, we've got about 60 spaces, okay? And of those 60 spaces, they are first reserved for students who are taking an intervention class so that they can have 1 elective in their schedule. If we have leftover spaces, which we usually do in the realm of 15 to 20 spaces, it is then done on a lottery process. So please be aware, by saying yes to pre-first PE, that does not guarantee that your child will be enrolled in pre-first, okay?
All right. And with that, I think, Mrs. Hawkins, we are all set. What I would like to be able to do now is we can answer any questions that you